Okay, and I'm Michael Heiskell. I'm the father of my two children here.
Okay, so we're going to start off by learning a bit about you, and first starting off by telling us where you went to law school and when you graduated.
Okay, Baylor Law School, graduated in 1974, December of 1974, and I also attended undergrad at Baylor as well.
Great, and then what led you to go up to the DFW area?
Well, at the time, I finished my tenure with the Galveston County Criminal District Attorney's Office and was seeking higher office, so to speak, and applied for it and was accepted as an assistant United States Attorney in Dallas. So in 1980, moved to Dallas, Fort Worth area, actually Arlington, and began work there at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Dallas.
Okay. And so tell us a bit about your family life.
Family life. Oh, wow. Active, very active. Very active. Michael Jr. and Mason, who were 15 and 13 respectively, keep me and my wife Anita busy with baseball and other school activities. And so it's a year-round venture. We also enjoy going on trips together, as well as taking you two with us from time to time on ski trips and the like. So very active family life.
So tell us a bit about what made you choose criminal law.
My professor of political science at Baylor directed me into law. I really enjoyed the class and did well in the class, so he suggested I apply for law school. And so I thought about it a long time and decided to change my major. I was originally a biology major, so in physical science, and decided to go into law. And so I'm grateful to him for making that suggestion to me.
So, memorable cases and experiences. Each attorney has possibly something that sticks out for them, something that was either a challenge or a moment where they moved forward. So, what would you say are the most memorable cases and experiences of your time as a criminal defense attorney?
As a criminal defense attorney, my most memorable cases were two death penalty cases, trials that I tried in the mid to late 80s and also into the early 90s, because it's not just those particular two, but other death penalty cases I had, where the ultimate penalty is, of course, an issue. But my first two cases was able to obtain a life sentence as opposed to the death penalty for criminal defense attorneys. That's a victory, able to save your client's life. The first person was Kenneth Reed Smith, who was accused of kidnapping, raping, and murdering a young girl. And that was pretty high publicity at the time in the Tarrant County, Fort Worth area. And so when that happened, much to the chagrin of the prosecutors and the citizenry at large, the verdict was returned for a life sentence. So the next one was Reginald Starks, similar type case, murdered a couple of people in the course of robbery, and the same result happened. And that again was a more high profile case in the media, and that's where I became known, at least in the Fort Worth, Dallas area, as being a defense attorney on capital murder cases. So those were two noteworthy cases at the beginning of my criminal defense career.
Excellent. And then for TCDLA, you served in a lot of different capacities. What is the purpose of TCDLA? What does it stand for? What is the mission?
The mission and purpose, of course, is to seek justice for those citizens accused here in the state of Texas, to make sure that due process is afforded those persons, those individuals who are accused of crimes, and also to put the government to the test of its burden of proof, of proof beyond a reasonable doubt and presumption of innocence. We often see where people are accused of crimes, and people as a whole may think, well, what did he do and what happened here? He should go to jail, he should be executed or whatever. But we also have to be mindful of that real cornerstone of our criminal defense, that is the presumption of innocence, making sure that people who are accused of crimes have the most effective and competent counsel possible. So that's our mission goal, is to provide the training for that and to create at least a community of defense counsel who can learn from each other and be able to provide that service to the citizenry as well.
Excellent. So as for which roles did you serve?
within the TCGA, well, everything from secretary, treasurer, to vice president, and then president in 1999 and 2000. So I kind of worked my way up the officer chain, so to speak, after I was nominated as secretary back in the mid-90s. So it's been a wonderful experience with this group, a number of good and dear friends I've met, and who will still remain that over the years, and I've cherished those relationships in this organization.
So when it comes to the three most influential people, where if you had your own personal Mount Rushmore, who would you put as the most influential?
Oh gosh, my own personal Mount Rushmore. Probably my father, number one, James D. Heiskell. After that, I would go to some historical figures who I think have influenced me. I've studied a lot and read a lot, and that is Dr. King, Martin Luther King. After that, I'm going to pull out a name here that may surprise some people or may not. Crispus Attucks, who was the historical black figure who was in the revolutionary time and was a person who stood out and showed a lot of courage. And so when I look at him, his life, and his biography, it's someone I admire as well.
Let's see. So within trial, you have to think of recent things. I'm teaching myself, and they say the teachers have a tough position because they have a lot of people that make a lot of split decisions simultaneously. In the courtroom, what would you say prosecutors throwing something in your bridge? What is one of the quickest split decisions you've had to make in order to ensure your success?
Well, it's a lot of split decisions because you think you have prepared for just about everything, and preparation is the key, of course, in any trial, defending people. But oftentimes, witnesses on the witness stand will say something totally different from what you expect, from what's written even in the statements that are provided to you in advance and they can prepare for. So you have to listen, which is the key, and not try to think too far ahead, because if you think too far ahead about what you may anticipate a person would say, you may miss out on what was actually said in front of the jury. So listening is the key, and being able to respond accordingly. We have to be on our feet constantly, many times with objections that can be made to inadmissible evidence, whether it's hearsay evidence or evidence based upon some improper motive, an improper evidentiary statement that may have come from some other witness. So it's a matter of always being on your feet, so to speak, and listening keenly to what the question is, what the answer is, more importantly, so that you will not be surprised and you will not be taken aback and show that to the jury. Because another thing you have to do is maintain your cool and composure in front of the jury. Even if you're getting hurt with some bad testimony, the key thing is not act as though you've been hurt or appear as though you've been hurt, that you expected this and that you can overcome this. Because you have to set that stage earlier on in jury selection to let them know not to make their mind up immediately and wait for cross-examination, wait until the case is over with. So when bad things come out, you're not fidgeting and showing some emotion that the jury may pick up as, wow, he's been hurt and therefore he's going to lose, because they try to gravitate to those people who think are winners.
When you think of up-and-coming attorneys, if you were to speak to a young attorney who just passed the bar, what bits of advice would you give to them in regards to the development of their career?
Hard work. I mean, there's no substitute for that, and that is making sure you put in the time and effort. I've seen so many attorneys now who've come out who want to go the easy route. They want to be successful right away. They think that it's a matter of having this law degree and obtaining a job, that the riches come immediately. But it's been a long slog for me, because when I started out as the assistant criminal DA in Galveston in 1975, my yearly salary was $12,000 a year. So that was $1,000 gross a month. And so that's, when you go back and look at that and compare it to today's income for the average attorney, it's quite a small amount. But the main thing is hard work and making sure that people know that you're working hard and you have a reputation reputation of working hard, so that you could receive the referrals, the prime appointments from the courts for those cases that take hard work to achieve success.
So yeah, in your development, you definitely move forward and address the challenges and things like that. I want to refer back to your father, once we were mentioning those people who shaped and molded you. As your son, I've been blessed to receive his name, and I didn't have the opportunity to spend much time with him due to his passing. But what types of skills would you say, in reflecting back from moving from going place to place, what did he teach you that helped you along your way with your academics?
He taught me to, when you do things, do it right. And that was a mantra of his. That he said, if you're going to do something, do it right. Don't do it halfway. Make sure that you complete the task that's assigned to you, and then move on to the next task and making sure that's completed as well, not stopping and being frustrated or being seeing some impediments that may not be there. So that mantra of his of make sure you do it right sticks with me today, that I try to pass on to you and Marin and two other sons. When you do something, do it right, do it completely, and that way you won't have to go back and redo some of the work that you started out doing. And when you do that, you can be successful. And that, of course, encompasses hard work, the other attributes that you would find in any professional, just making sure you do it right.
Going back to your education piece, what do you think was the most influential class that you took in law school? And to piggyback on that, what is a class when you look at today's young and up-and-coming attorneys that you think should be taught in law school?
Oh, good question. My most influential class would have been criminal procedure. Professor Boswell from Baylor. He was a character, and he had a reputation for having a very stern class. He had a loud voice, and when he called upon the students, I mean, it sent chills up and down your spine, because you had to stand up and recite some cases, which he was asked you to recite, some analysis of those cases as well. But it helped me, and number one, thinking on my feet, but the thing you brought up a little bit earlier. Right close behind that would be my practice court, Professor Matt Dawson, who died earlier this year. He was in his 90s. He was called Matt Dawson. And he taught the skills necessary to be in the courtroom, to project yourself, to build the confidence that you need to be a trial lawyer. Because Baylor was known as putting out good trial lawyers. As an example, when I first began my case in practice court, I was sitting at the table and conducting an examination of a witness. And I was really mealy-mouthed and didn't talk loud and very soft-spoken. He kept getting on me. He said, "Speak up, Mr. Heiskell, louder, I can't hear you." He's in the back. Finally, he made me get up, go to the back of the courtroom, way in the back corner, for me to conduct my examination, which meant I had to speak loud, I had to project myself, and that taught me something there, that if you can't be heard, then you're certainly not going to be effective. So I remember that keenly, because of how he took me and worked with me on things of that nature and helped shape and mold me as far as my skills in the courtroom. As far as telling or suggesting courses for new attorneys, probably I think it's a matter of how to run a law office for those who want to go into private practice. Having that business skill to run an office, it's a totally different skill than being an attorney. So to have that taught somehow, to market yourself, to run a law office, I think is key, and something that should be considered by all law schools. Because even though a number of people who leave law school and graduate, they may go into the government arena, whether it's a DA's office, as I did, or maybe some corporate arena. Those things are already in place, but there are quite a few who want to strike it out on their own, and not applaud them for that. I think that's something that's necessary, so that people can understand how to build a business model and make it work, just not only for themselves, but other lawyers that may bring into the fold, and to be able to be successful that way, economically, and create a legacy for your firm.
So is there a certain level of mentorship and entrepreneurship that's involved in as well? Is there
Yes.
a channel where people can gain these skills?
Well, there are certain courses given by what we call our specialty bars in the county. For instance, I'm in Tarrant County. We have a Tarrant County Bar Association. We have certain courses, we call it a Brown Act seminar, in which those things are taught. These are for younger attorneys who just gotten out of law school, and they can go and hear from other seasoned attorneys about running a law office and marketing themselves. Not just necessarily how to build some type of website, but how do you market, how do you interface with other attorneys and people in general in the community. Because one of the things that attorneys we need to do is to get more into the community that we serve, not only to help them from the standpoint of legal services needed, even on a pro bono basis, a free basis, but those services can also catapult you to those retained services. People who will call upon you in the future. Any event that themselves or a loved one gets into trouble and they need a good attorney. So those type of things are being taught more so on the county by county basis, but not necessarily in the law schools. And that's something I think the law schools need to take a look at.
Okay, so in the many years since you practiced law, now with social media, technology, and all that, how has criminal defense law changed?
Oh, it's changed quite a bit because of just what you mentioned, man, social media. One of the things I do now when someone comes in to retain me to represent the defensive accusation, to defend them in an accusation made against them, is to check their own social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, because oftentimes you will find, and the prosecutors and the police will find, some good nuggets for them to utilize against your client. You have to be sure what's out there. In addition to that, you check witnesses for the state, for the government. Oftentimes they have these accounts, and you check those to see if you can find something that you can use to impeach their testimony on certain issues, or somehow knock holes or chinks into the armor of the prosecution in the state. So that social media thing is big right now, and it's a part of, even now, because we're here in San Antonio at the Rusty Duncan course, there are a couple of topics on that issue that people need to know about, and for the past few years, GCDLA has been the forefront, teaching people how to investigate others by virtue of the social media.
Excellent. So you were speaking with prosecutors, getting chinks within their armor or lowering their defense. What type of prosecutor, we won't let anyone see this, but what types of prosecutors give you the most change? What types of characteristics or ways that they frame their questions?
Oh, well obviously the more seasoned prosecutors, those are people who've been around the block, so to speak. They always present a challenge. So when I go up against prosecutors primarily in federal court, those people have a lot of experience and training in their particular field. They have a particularized training, for instance, whether it's healthcare fraud, drug conspiracies, IRS issues, and so forth. So those people who have also the backup of agents, FBI, IRS, DEA agents, who are also trained. Many of the FBI agents are lawyers themselves. And so those agents, coupled with the assistant U.S. attorney, the federal prosecutors, always present a strong and stern challenge.
So, this is one of many achievements, accolades for you. What does this achievement mean to you?
Oh, it means quite a bit, quite a bit. To be recognized by your peers in this way is very gratifying. I know I've been practicing law a long time, so that obviously has something to do with it as well. 40 years, actually, but still I had to be nominated and elected by the members, and that happened earlier this year, and I was ecstatic that that happened. And so this means quite a bit, and it's something I'll always cherish.
Excellent. So, I just want to give you a riddle to think about really quickly to see. So, there was a rich and handsome man named James Leonard, and he was killed on a Sunday afternoon. There's some different people there, and we studied their responses, trying to find out who did it. So the maid said, I was fixing the table. The cook, I was cooking breakfast. The butler, I was polishing the silverware and the dishes. The gardener, I was planting tomato seeds. The wife, I was reading a book of these 5 individuals. Who was the person that killed the man on the Sunday afternoon? So you have the maid.
Well, wait a minute. Read the question again. The fact scenario.
Yes, sir. So a rich and handsome man named James Leonard was murdered on a Sunday afternoon. At the time of the murder, there was the maid, the cook, the butler, the gardener, and the wife. The maid stated, I was fixing the table. The cook, I was cooking breakfast. The butler, I was polishing the silverware and the dishes. The gardener, I was planting tomato seeds. The wife, I was reading a book. Who committed the crime against Mr. James Leonard?
That's a tough one. I could pick out a couple of suspects, prime suspects, which would include the wife. But I'm going to go with the cook, because she said cooking breakfast on a Sunday afternoon, which.
You're correct. You're spot on. Yes, we don't. In the afternoon.
Afternoon. Okay.
So, another kind of fun question is, we know you tend to hate legal shows, legal movies, anything like that at all. But is there one that you like? Just one?
Just one?
Movies, TV shows, any sort of legal
gosh.
dramas that you
Kind of like, I remember, and I'm going to really date myself saying this, but a lot of people say Perry Mason, but I didn't really go for Perry Mason for whatever reason. But I remember L.A. Law, and that's a show that came on, I believe, in the 70s or 80s, and had some interesting characters, and the characters were developed in a way that I like. I did like that show. I'm not sure how long it ran on TV. I'm thinking 3 or 4 years perhaps, but I do remember that L.A. Law. So other than that, I guess you can pick out a couple of movies. What was a movie with, it was a legal movie, military.
A
A Few Good Men, Tom Cruise. Yeah, Tom Cruise. You Can't Handle the Truth.
Yeah.
That iconic phrase made by him or some.
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, okay.
Yep,
Thank you.
that's a good one.
So I remember that.
Okay.
And along those same lines, you're a wonderful man. You represent a lot of great things. Why do lawyers get such a bad rap? As you know, sometimes there are some questions and jokes, that
Right.
can be about the profession. Why do you think the general populace has sometimes a cynical view of the jury?
Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, there are a lot of bad attorneys out there, quite frankly. People who don't do the work necessary to achieve the goals that they need to achieve. And who, quite frankly, have poor communication skills. A number of people, when they hire an attorney, they pay them the money, and then you often hear that it's difficult from that point on for the client to get in contact with their counsel to find out what's going on, to get updated as to what's happening with their case. And that's the genesis of a lot of problems with attorneys and their clients. And then as a result, the clients badmouth the attorneys. I can never hear from him. He won't call me back. I know he's in the office and he's taking messages, and it's been weeks since I heard from him. So those poor communication skills, number one, and the bad work habits, if you will, too. But also, we're the people business as criminal defense attorneys, family lawyers in particular. And those two fields, family law and criminal lawyers, represent people. You hear of the probate lawyers, of course, represent the estate of dead people. The corporate attorneys and other folks that deal with intellectual properties, who may represent corporations, entities, they don't represent people. And as people attorneys, we're going to get arrows thrown at us all the time, because people judge people differently. And when things don't go their way, when their son or daughter is convicted of something that they feel is wrong, they're going to blame the lawyer. If a family law court situation, if you didn't get the appropriate property from a divorce petition or split of the proceeds, they're going to blame their lawyer. So it's the nature of the beast, so to speak, what we deal with from a people perspective. So you couple that with some poor lawyering skills and communication skills, and you will have these jokes made regularly about lawyers.
Another fun question. So Okay, so I have to change the dynamic of the question. Okay, so if you're alone in the car, driving down, and a song comes on the radio, you just have to turn up and sing every word to. What's that song?
All the songs.
Which one would surprise people the most?
What surprised people the most? Wow. I like Elton John songs.
Really?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I can't think off the top of my head right now a particular Elton John song, but I just like his music, his songwriting, the lyrics, whether it's from The Lion King. Remember The Lion King screenplay and songs, not screenplay, but
The movie.
music. But other than that, you know that I'm a Motown fan, and so Temptations #1 with me anytime. Any Temptation song I love, I cherish. That's what I grew up with, and even today I still listen to it.
So you've worked within this profession for a number of years. Do you have a dream job per se? So would there be something else that you feel your skills would match you to? I personally, I think you'd be a good owner of the MLB team. Do you have a dream job per se, or would you say that what you've done so far?
Oh, that's a tough one too. I guess you fantasize oftentimes about something like if you own a professional team, or if you were some TV commentator, Sunday talk shows that you think you can do. So those things come to mind from time to time. But whatever it is, though, I still would prefer to be my own boss, own my own business. And that's something that both of you know, and my two younger kids know. I try to beat into their head, be your own boss, so that you can direct and guide your own life, and what you can do and who you can do it with. So as long as you were able to do that, I think it will make you happier, it'll make you more content, and also knowing that you're leaving a legacy behind you for others to step into the breach and carry on when you're gone.
Let me jump over. So you just mentioned the term legacy, just as your son and your family. In what ways, what type of legacy would you like to leave as you move on? What types of things do you expect or want?
Oh, I want my kids to succeed in life, and to be a family, be good parents, be good leaders in the community. I think that would sum it up. Be a beacon to others to know this is how you act as a man and as a woman, and this is what others need to see in you when they look at you and hear you, that this is the type of person I want to be around. I want to have my children around so that they know how to act and succeed in business and in life. So that's the legacy I want to leave.
On days that you have major trials, do you have any kind of like superstitions or traditions
Yeah, I do.
that you do before you go?
Number one, in trial, I'll get up early, like get to the office early, whether it's 7:30, whatever. And before I start heading for the courtroom, get in the mind that here I am, ready to go, get prepared. Number two, I don't eat lunch at all, because I feel when you eat lunch, you come back after lunch, it makes your body slows down, and your thinking process slows down. So people always ask me, "You gonna have lunch?" I say, "No, I'm not eating lunch when I'm in trial. I want to stay on top of things." And of course, I've had a lot of coffee that morning, so plenty of caffeine to keep me going throughout the day. But those two things basically, I'm going to get up early, and then no lunch, and then try to, even though it's difficult, to try to get a good night's sleep. And my wife can tell you oftentimes it's difficult.
Yeah, tell me a little about your practice, Johnson and Heiskell. How was this formed? Who were the other members that were involved?
Okay, we formed the firm in 1980. Myself, Bill Johnson, who was the head of the Civil Division of the United States Attorney's Office, who's now deceased, and Anthony Vaughn, who was also a civil attorney with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Bill and Anthony were both in Fort Worth. I was in Dallas, but I would go to Fort Worth from time to time to try cases and to handle cases in the Fort Worth Division. So they were the two African American attorneys in Fort Worth, and I was the sole one in Dallas at the time. And so we always talked about, after we met, about forming a firm together. And so we did, and it was successful. We represented a lot of companies, banks. I did the criminal work, of course. And unfortunately, Anthony and Bill Johnson and Yvonne both met their untimely deaths far too soon. Bill in 1987 and Tony in 1992. So I've always kept the name of the firm because we built up a reservoir of good faith with that name to this day. And right now I have Clifford Davis, who is 90 years of age, who's with me. I have a young man named David Patan, who's been with me now almost 3 years, and he's a counsel to my firm as well. So we still try to provide a variety of services. Again, I'm still the point person on criminal work, and Clifford Davis does a lot of probate matters. Of course, with his age, he can't run the court as often as he used to. And David also does some civil personal injury work. I like to call our firm somewhat of a boutique firm, small but manageable, and hopefully that firm can go on even after I'm gone.
And you moved a couple times, correct? I remember there was a time where there was a bad hailstorm.
Oh yeah, we had a building in downtown Fort Worth that we owned for a number of years, and in like 2007 we sold it and moved to the present location on the east side of Fort Worth. And that puts me a bit closer to Dallas, so it's real convenient for everyone.
What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions about what you do as a criminal defense attorney?
Misconception, I guess people cannot fathom, and you get this question quite often, how can you represent people who are guilty of crime? You know they're guilty, how do you represent them? And the misconception is, well, do these people really need attorneys or not? And our Constitution in the state as well as our federal government provides that these people are entitled to counsel. Because one of the reasons for the Revolutionary War is that when we came over from England, the king was the king, and when the king said you did something, you were presumed guilty. And our country had a different notion about that. So that carries on to this day as far as making sure the constitutional privileges that we all enjoy, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, is something for everyone, not just for people who are not accused of crimes, for people who are accused of crimes, until that guilty verdict comes down. And even if the appellate process is ongoing, you have to make sure that those concepts are in place. So the misconception is that people like us as criminal defense attorneys just do it for money, that you're just a shield for these criminals out there. But you have to understand that it's much deeper than that, because we have an obligation and an oath to uphold our Constitution and be on the front lines and making sure that our rights and principles are upheld.
Last question, one on a funny note. Just yes or no questions. Did the Patriots cheat?
Yes.
Do you believe in aliens?
No.
And last one, did O.J. Simpson commit the crime?
Yes.
And outside of that, final question. Why do you feel that you're loved by so many people? Because we all are so proud of you. You've done so many amazing things. Why has the community and your family and the TCDLA chosen to pick you for this award outside of this?
I don't know. I mean, I've, as I said before, made some good friends over the years in this organization. I have some dear friends who stood by me, and I've stood by them through the ups and downs. And so I want to thank them for pushing this, for me to obtain this award. But other than that, I think, going back, James, to what I said earlier, as long as you have that work ethic and the goals in mind to try to leave a legacy of good works and being a good person, that will come through eventually. People will see that. And I hope that's what's happened with me, and I hope it will happen with my children.